Hello everyone, Kawa here. Today we're going to look into Metaverse architecture, a look into the future of property. Qhawarizmi Architect is a full-fledged architecture consultancy. We do real-life architecture, and of course, at the same time, we serve a lot of clients across these years and have been featured in a lot of media throughout these years. Our venture into Web3 are superseded by the efforts to create virtual architecture into some of these amazing uh, NFT artists' galleries. And of course, naturally, the idea of NFT intrigued us. And the idea of representation in a tokenized environment where every token is registered in a secure ledger, the idea of thinking about how this technology can be transferred into property started from a simple change of the letter T from token to terraces. Terraces is one of the most popular residential class. It is the exact opposite of NFTs, which is unique and personalized, hence the non-fungible aspect of it. Meanwhile, terrace houses are usually standardized and repetitive. But if you look at the natural cost of progression of a landed terrace house, individual owners are desperate to express their individuality, turning a repetitive housing row into a non-fungible housing row where it's all fairly personalized to the taste of the individual. And of course, terrace house remains the most popular residential segment, and it's derived from our colonial past, looking into how this new township after the independence has adopted this fairly efficient housing model. But at that moment of time, terrace house were fairly small. And as time goes, it become more and more premium, and with stratification, terrace house could go up 3 or 4 stories. And this also affects the affordability of these houses. Of course, when they become bigger, they become more premium and they serve higher segment of the market. And of course, the main major cities are in Malaysia, even though stratified apartments or high rises dominated most of the skyline today, terrace house remain one of the most popular housing product. So when COVID came, this past 4 years has accelerated the adoption of technology and advancement of technology as equivalent for the last 100 years with the adoption of hybrid work and learning environment, with the emphasis on shopping through online means. And of course, we are able to connect to more people as smart home furniture and appliances has become mainstream. And in the near future, autonomous driving vehicle will become the staple of our road. And of course, with that, electrification of mobility. Hence, architecture will be modularized to cope with the demand of the future, but at the same time, sustainable and more resilient than ever. Food is also another factor, and as you can see today, production of food are fairly crucial. Production of food will slowly transfer into more sterile environment, more artificial environment where they can be harvested more efficiently, and commerce will be done in a cashless virtual environment. This is the preset of SIMW Home Concept 2030 competition, which jointly organized by SIMW Property and Tubuhan Architect Malaysia, that we find intrigue. And this narrative is supported by the 4 pillars of the competition. If you look at the democratization of simpler things like frozen yogurt, a small ticket item, and you are spoiled with choices. And as you grew, or the purchase become a little bit more important to the point where you need to get a higher purchase loan, for example, a car, the amount of democratization or customization dramatically goes down. And when you buying something as expensive as property that you might be paying the mortgage for 25 to 35 years, you are fairly left with no choice. So this is the paradox. As things that you bought get more and more expensive, more serious per se, you are not offered with more options, but the exact opposite of it. So that's why we come up with the idea of non-fungible terraces, where each terrace houses is fairly unique. And the idea is to create a street with character, but at the same time, still have a architectural design language that is homogeneous, harmonious, and integrated. So if you look at the steps per se, we just try to make it fairly easy. Edit, mint, and build. These 3 steps as easy as ABC. In a collaborative environment, you can design your own house. So we presented that idea, and fortunately we won. I think this is some of the things that, in line with somebody's core values, to give options, making purchasing property more democratic. And we get a lot of great coverage from local newspapers and, of course, overseas as well. We are featured in August, Tetler Hong Kong's issue. And basically, this idea are based on 4 main ideas. It came from NFT and also Metaverse. So first is generative art. Number 2 is physical digital, or what we call it phygital, a combination of both, interaction of physical and digital, the world of Metaverse, and of course, the decentralized autonomous organization, or DAO. So if you look at generative arts, it's the empowerment of artificial intelligence to work on a certain algorithm, to work on a certain preset geometry or elements in order to create generative art. So if you look at how a possible house could be broken down, for example, to walls, doors, window, and roof, with only few presets, we can already produce good number of customized house. And if you just imagine we introduce 1 or 2 additional SKUs, the outcome will be almost infinite. If we keep adding on new and better technologies in the future, the combination will be endless, will be infinite. Number 2, of course, even though we are talking about the metaverse, to a certain extent, we have to understand the value are packed to the physical entity. So in order for that, we have to bridge the physical and digital. The idea is to create a phygital terrace or terrace houses, okay? But they perform different functions. A physical terrace house, of course, for you to live in the actuality of the space. Meanwhile, the digital is for other things that could be not possible in the physical space. There are 3 phygital modes: digital model, digital shadow, and digital twin. Digital model is fairly a rough representation of the physical one. And of course, they don't actually interact unless manual input or manual data is being inserted in between them. Meanwhile, digital shadow is when the physicality is reflected in digital, okay, without having to have any manual input. So the information flows one direction. Update in the physical house will update the digital house. If we can get to the digital twin where information flows automatically for the physical and digital, and vice versa. And the idea of this phygital use of the metaverse version of the house could be as an extension of your home office, which is the virtual office. And of course, if you are a small SMEs operating from your house, you can turn your Metaverse terrace house into a virtual shop. So I'm not necessarily advocating the house should be an exact replica of your physical house. It could be an alternate version of your physical house. Of course, when everyone is on the digital platform, it can be utilized as neighborhood management. When you have this digital version, it also can assist you with home automation and management. You can manage your electrical usage, your utility bills, and of course, turning on and off certain smart appliances in your house. Now, if you look at Metaverse, it is just a fairly broad umbrella. Anything that offer different realm that is beyond this universe in a 3D virtual world could be considered as a metaverse. So in the metaverse, there are certain foundational elements that are needed to ensure that metaverse can run. The internet, of course, the open standard of media, so things could come across from one metaverse system to the next, open programming language and standards, decentralized ledger and smart contract, which an important element to give value to the metaverse. I mean, of course, you can have a virtual world without any proof of ownership, but the idea of having value stored in the metaverse is what make it attractive today. You need a hardware to access this metaverse, either extended or mixed reality apparatus, or your computer and phones. And of course, how you experience metaverse will differ, the medium the metaverse is designed for. Now, if you look at the popularity of this particular medium for experience, definitely right now, they are more focused on headsets and followed closely by mobiles that usually leverage on augmented reality technologies. Meanwhile, devices that is in the scale of a room due to the prohibiting costs and of course you need space to do it is fairly catching up, but still has room for improvement. And the focus of real estate metaverse should be covering these three layers: experience, of course, and discovery to create a layer of content, okay, curation, and to a certain extent, maybe there is an economy revolved around it. Of course, Metaverse does not exist in its own echo chamber. Metaverse is actually a consolidation of other technologies. And of course, we have virtual space for quite some time now. But the reason why it came back with a value this time, due to the fact of advent of NFTs powered by blockchain. And somehow a lot of metaverse have their own tokenomics that it is a form of cryptocurrency that running on a decentralized ledger. So all this came into a system that is visual, that is interactive, that is engaging, which is the metaverse. The idea of using metaverse in real estate is first to visualize the real estate, and to a certain extent, digital land. The digital land will be populated by digital product in a phygital environment, a mirror of your actual property. So this is some of the use cases that has been utilized around the world. Decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAO, play an important role. The idea was to create an entity that is free and, hopefully more democratic, as the power to vote is distributed evenly to everyone. The idea was really to relook the existing model of a property management corporation that used to be the independent party that somehow managed the property on the owner's behalf, and of course, coordinate efforts, collective efforts of the particular property to ensure it runs smoothly. To a certain extent, DAO might have the ability, a bit more sophisticated DAO, definitely, DAO is in infancy, development are needed to ensure that DAO can operate to a utmost efficiency that manage, for example, the emotions of the particular stakeholders of the property if they want to, raise maintenance or even make payments to third-party vendors that actually serving the property. Now, if you look at it, it is basically, some of the obvious use case for DAO in property or real estate will be voting during the annual meeting, and of course the sense of togetherness, the democratization of managing the property. Each property will have their own deed that is legal to the country that issue, the title, the deed. But at the same time, if the property wants to be fractionalized, NFT is a good mechanism that you can prove partial ownership of that particular property. And of course, utilities are also possible to be paired with their NFTs to enjoy other lifestyle perks. For example, maybe access to a certain community or events, or engaging, in a social party, or even use it as a proof of social currency that you are living in a certain neighborhood, to a point where these utilities are fairly wide. And of course, this is also a growing areas that will be more and more attractive in the future and more sophisticated, of course. I think that is all. And obviously, this is just the beginning. And who know where these ideas, this innovation will lead us. Thank you so much for listening and looking forward to see you again in the future. Take care. Bye.